Welcome back to Hannity. There is major outrage over a controversial skit that aired on Saturday Night Live this weekend, a trailer for a new fake movie, Djesus Unchained. It features Jesus coming back from the dead to avenge his death by going on a killing rampage against the Romans. It's violent, it's bloody, it's disgusting, and as Christians around the world celebrate Lent, it is offensive. Now take a look at a few of the highlights. By the way, keep in mind we had to cut out most of the most gruesome parts here.
Get ready for the ultimate historical revenge fantasy.
Guess who's back?
Jesus Uncrossed. He's risen from the dead.
Did he miss me?
Get him! Critics are calling it a less violent Passion of the Christ. I never knew how much Jesus used the N-word. Jesus Uncrossed.
No more Mr. Nice Jesus.
Obviously, a takeoff of Djesus Unchained, but there you have it. I wonder what the response would have been if the writers at Saturday Night Live, what if they chose the Prophet Muhammad? Just a guess, the outcry would be tenfold, and those responsible probably would be packing up their offices. Why the double standard? Here with reaction from Fox News Radio, Todd Starnes, and Fox News contributor Julie Roginski is with us. Is there a double standard?
Oh, of course there is. And I think, first of all, people need to understand something. Jesus wants to be your Lord and Savior. He doesn't want to blow you to kingdom come. Look, Sean, what we saw happen on Saturday night is the worst example I've seen of anti-Christian bigotry on network television, and the folks over at 30 Rock ought to be ashamed of themselves.
Let's just put on the, because I think there's something that you've tapped into here, and that is a double standard. Would the people at Saturday Night Live, would they equally go after, and I'll use the Muslim faith as an example, would they go after the Prophet Muhammad?
I don't know, but I would have no problem if they did. And
You would have no problem, but would they do it? The answer is no.
I can't speak for them, but I'll tell you this. You know, it's a comedy show. We got to lighten up a little bit.
But wait a minute. But it's,
and, you know, change the channel.
Why wouldn't they do it, Todd?
Well, for one thing, they're cowards. They're terrified of what might happen in the event they did one of those skits bashing Muhammad or for example, putting out a mock movie trailer called Jihad Undetonated. People would go ballistic here in New York City, and it's just absolutely outrageous what they did. And Sean, just a few days ago, NBC had a reporter on the air when the Carnival cruise ship came in. They had two young ladies. One of them wanted to quote a Bible verse on the air. That reporter cut her off right in the middle of the. What does that tell you about what's happening at NBC?
We got the Virgin Mary and elephant dung thrown on the thing. Remember the crucifix submerged in urine. Andre Serrano, which we also have chronicled here on this program before, and I think we have it. We'll put it up on the screen. But there is a double standard. Is it? Now I can also put up on the screen instances where, for example, we've had outrage. We had, for example, in 2002, we had an example, the Muslim cartoons, the Danish cartoons, the Quran burning. We had the most recent case, supposedly violence broke out because of a YouTube video. We have Salman Rushdie, if you want to go back that far, when he wrote the Satanic Verses, and a fatwa was put out on him. So it's okay for the writers of Saturday Night Live. They'll make fun of Jesus and Christians, but not the Prophet Muhammad. Why? Because they don't have the courage to go after. They don't have the courage for the backlash.
Sean, as much as I thought the whole backlash over the Prophet Muhammad cartoons was absolutely ridiculous, as I'm sure you'd agree, it's the same as the backlash here. It's ridiculous. You're offended by it? Change the channel. I see your point.
Why is NBC, why is it acceptable only to go after Christians?
Sean, it's open season on Christians in this country, and it's not just on the networks. It's happening in everyday life. For some reason, we live in a culture now where people believe it's okay to bash Christians. It's almost as if we deserve it, and that's why we're seeing these people coming after Christianity and the NBC.
What if they did go after the Prophet Muhammad?
What if they did?
What if they did? What do you think would have happened based on these prior events that I referenced?
Well, I think there would have been massive outrage. People would be marching in the streets. I suspect President Obama or perhaps the Secretary of State might have picked up the telephone call and made a call to Lauren Michaels, and said, hey, what's going on here? You got to take it easy. You don't want to offend
people. So in other words, they could only offend one religion, not the other, and they wouldn't have the courage to equally go after all religions. So they're pretty gutless over there. They pick the one that they can get away with.
They're gutless cowards. You're absolutely right, Sean, and we've got a trail of evidence proving that point.
Yeah.
You guys are pretending that it's so easy to be a Muslim in this country, and the Christians are so oppressed. Come on, look.
Well, I'm asking, but why? Wait a minute.
You're asking me to
I would expect that if there's going to be, if this is a comedy show, then everything's fair game. Which, by the way, I would be fine with, but it's not fair game.
But they have gone after Muslims in the past.
They know they can get away with it, so they do it.
They have gone after Muslims in the past. They did. They went after, going all the way back to our friend Dennis Miller, going after Cat Stevens when he converted to Islam back in the 80s.
That was a legitimate, real issue.
He was saying, I'm being followed by a big Muslim, to the tune of I'm being followed by a moose shadow, which everybody thought was kind of hilarious back in the day.
Well, remember Cat Stevens, and he was at Jon Stewart's rally for, quote, insanity.
Here's a guy. This goes back to the 80s. Come on, Sean. You know what? If you're offended, change the channel. You got to lighten up, my friend.
I don't think NBC would do it, do you?
Well,
I don't think
they've done it in the past, so,
No, they have not.
I just gave you one example. I just gave you an example.
It's not
relevant. Come on. It's not relevant.
No, it's not a good example.